Warm welcome to you all. May I kindly request everyone to please take their seats so we can begin the program. I am Chandrani Chakrabarti and I'll be the host for the event today. May I request the UG and the PG students to please take their respective seats. And please don't come forward to take photographs. An official photographer will capture the photos of all graduating students and which can be collected from the faculty admin after a week. On behalf of the Faculty of Architecture at CEPT University, I formally welcome you all to the 20th Convocation ceremony, a day that truly belongs to our students and their families. A heartfelt round of applause to our graduates and their families. A very special welcome to the parents and the loved ones who have gathered here today. Your support and patience have made this moment possible. And for those whose family could not travel to be here, just look around you. What you will see that you are surrounded by friends, mentors, and a community who is proud of you and celebrating here with you today. Well done and well deserved. In this moment of accomplishment and celebration, and to inspire you as you step into the next phase of your journey, I would now like to invite Professor Sameep Padora, Dean of the Faculty of Architecture, to address and introduce our distinguished speaker for the event.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all of the students who are graduating, to friends and family who are with them to witness this happen, to all of the batches that seem to have gathered here by some strange turn of events. I welcome you all, and I hope you have a great event and experience. To all of the students, or well, now I can say professionals, while you graduate from the university today, remember always to stay with this mindset of a student, to keep learning even though you're out in the field doing work that will hopefully change the world. I'd also like to say that we have today with us, it is our privilege to welcome Padma Bhushan Shri Rajeev Sethi ji, who is here with us. He is India's foremost scenographer and a pioneering cultural visionary. He founded Rajeev Sethi Scenographers, India's first professional scenographic practice, and has over 5 decades redefined the relationship between architecture, art, craft, and performance, transforming spaces and experiences into powerful narratives of identity and meaning. Mr. Sethi's formative years were spent in Paris, working with Pierre Cardin, and was supported by designers like Ray and Charles Eames, and mentored by eminent Gandhians like Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay, Pupul Jayakar, Neela Bhatt, directing cohesive action to augment livelihoods in rural India. I mean, I of course have a personal connection with Rajeev ji, but he's also been the first to build on the intersection of architecture and arts, and has been a huge inspiration for the work that one also does in the profession outside. his work with crafts and live performances have elevated relationships between spaces and our understanding of the stories held within them. His internationally acclaimed work includes the Festival of India, Aditi at the Smithsonian Institute, the Hanover Expo 2000, Mumbai T2. Any one of us who's traveled through Mumbai Airport T2 knows Jai Hai, his incredible installation of these beautiful artworks from all over the country that even today are extremely engaging, how many ever times you might have moved through that space. And other landmark projects such as Shantivan and Shantigram in Ahmedabad. He's been a tireless advocate of design-led livelihoods. He's the founding trustee of the Asian Heritage Foundation and the founder of Geo Business of Handmade, advancing sustainable futures for India's craft traditions. His many honors include the Padma Bhushan, the Order of Merit from Germany, the Chevalier d'Ordre des Arts et des Lettres from France, and the AD at JSW Lifetime Achievement Award in 2024. We are honored to have with us today Shri Rajeev Sethi, whose work exemplifies the transformative power of culture, design, and imagination. I now welcome him to the dais.
Graduating students, very proud parents, respected faculty, and my very dear friends, Ashok Chatterjee, President Parzor Mehtaji, Sameep Padora, thank you ever so much for having me here. I've stood on this podium before, and each time I return, I feel a deep sense of privilege. CEPT is not just a campus. It's a crucible of simulation, of reflection and argument, a place where ideas are tested against reality or what is happening in and out. Many of you gathered here today are Humsafars in the making, and those I have learned from. You will go on to shape spaces, systems, and imaginations. And before you go, may I offer you not advice, but a few questions. Questions that have followed me for most part of my working life. Three anecdotes. I just came last night from Gorakhpur, where Kabir, in search of Kabir I went, and the whole concept of, their beyond Kankar and Patthar, and looking at, seeking him out, in the mosque and the temple that came up hundreds of years after he passed away, had manifested all the things that he said he didn't need. ढूंढो तो ऐसे ढूंढो जो खुद मिल जाए, और पत्थर कंकर की कोई जरूरत नहीं थी. One is a grave which is unmarked, but there's nobody in it, and a sthan and a statue. So things change, and what is intended and what is very, very modern and very contemporary takes another form. The other anecdotes I remember are right here in coming to, I think, several garbas and seeing the students with such ecstatic and really dancing. Like just about 2 weeks ago at another art gathering, I saw children who were graduating, and after all formality had finished, and they were playing on their bags and on their tiffin carriers and everything they had. But they wanted to dance, and the dance was no longer about Govinda or Sri Devi. It was a dance where they got each other by the waist, and it was totally tribal, exactly like Garba is a traditional dance, but reinvented and reinvent it in a way that makes us feel what is this thing, modernism, which is a fundamental question. Modernity, identity, indigeneity, crisis. What does it mean to be contemporary, here and now? For decades, we have repeated a curious ritual. First, we declare Westernization to be international. Then we struggle to indigenize it, to make it speak our climate, our material, our histories. This is not merely an architectural dilemma. It is a civilizational one, because contemporaneity is not a date, it's not a style, it's not something you impart or fit into. It is a condition of consciousness. Each culture, each community, family, each individual must define and redefine what new means for them. And yet, we are in a homogenized world where data behaves the same way everywhere, where algorithms flatten difference, where options appear infinite, but real choices quietly disappear. So the question is not without change. As change is inevitable, it is. The real question is, who decides the direction of our change? Is it a reflective intelligence or impatience masquerading as progress? This is where identity becomes urgent, not identity as nostalgia, but identity as a word I can only use, pehchan, knowing who we are working for, what we must preserve, and when we must courageously let go. Making, doing, being. When does this equation falls out of balance? How does architecture slip, design slip, and society slips with it? So I urge you, do not borrow certainty. Being tentative, vulnerable to it, all the changes, is very natural. Ask instead, is that grounded? Is that truthful? Is it authentic if truth is ambiguous? Because the contemporary is not something you imitate. It is something you arrive at. And yet, identity alone is not enough. To know who we are, we must also ask, how do we feel our way through this world? This brings me to something we merely name, but instantly recognize when it is missing. Rasa. Rasa is not decoration. It's not style. It's not taste in the fashionable sense. Rasa is the cumulative essence of being alive. It is what moves you before logic arrives, what stays after explanation leaves. I have reached a point where I no longer respond to art or design that does not move me. If it leaves me untouched, if it leaves me unconvinced, and yet Rasa is not taught, not in design schools, not in architectural curricula, not in systems obsessed with outcomes and novelty. So this is a crisis. Basti, basna, khel nahi hai. Baste, baste, basti hai. This process. In an age of speed and access, a capacity for anubhuti, deep shared experience, it's shrinking. artificiality replaces authenticity. More replaces meaning. Derivative seems original. Rasa demands a sense of occasion, attention, presence, and slowness in this fast-moving world. धीरे धीरे रे मना, धीरे सब कुछ होता है. माली सींचे 100 गड़े, फूल तो तभी होता है जब होना, जब ऋतु होता है. It cannot be automated. It cannot be scaled without loss. It lives in the space between intention and action, between form and feeling. So, as you step into practice, do not distrust emotion. Do not apologize for intuition, because rasa does not oppose reason, it complements it. And in a world becoming increasingly efficient, your ability to feel may be your most radical act. Feeling, however, must find form. Rasa must enter the world through making, doing, and being. Which brings me to the ethics of what we build. Architecture, the crafts, and the ethics of making. Every building we raise, every object we design, carries consequences far beyond form. The very act of belonging begins with destruction. Soil, water, air. In fact, my very dear friend Gautam Bhatia just wrote to me day before, saying that the earth has been overbuilt. Can we avoid building altogether? I'm making you nervous, but ponder. Architecture is never neutral, and architectural features endure beyond nostalgia. When you gaze through a jali, step into a jharoka, rest beneath a chhatri, or pass through a mehrab, an arch, or we look up to a hudikattu roof, or trace our eye and fingers along the contours of a pallava, chola, chera, or a hoysala column, you encounter intelligence shaped by climate, craft, and time materials. They are not nostalgic forms, they are ethical responses. And yet, in our hunger for novelty, we often mistake decoration for meaning. We imitate without belonging. This is how kitsch may be born. Has its validity, and that's another subject. Across this country exists lineage of profound knowledge. Sthapatis in the south, the Sompuras in the west, the Mahapatras, Maharanas of the east, the Ramgarhiyas of the north. Yet many today are pushed to the margins, not because their wisdom is obsolete, but because we failed to imagine a space for it. Should the anonymous and intimidated castes of Charis, Musaris, Santarajas, and Vishwakarmas be forced to switch their professions, or should architects, interior designers, and public works contractors reflect on their neglect or ignorance of traditional resources? Traditional knowledge systems using mud, wood, bamboo, and stone are absent from local engineering codes and contracting norms of our booming building industry. While GOI guidelines mandate that 2% of building costs be reserved for arts and crafts, Bhutan, for example, Nepal, Indonesia, are much more, from 2 to even 80%. our friend who I was so charmed to find, has still is graduating today, and that is charming. There are many that I see here. Novel. I must congratulate you that graduation is a process, and you can choose to take it when you do. That's remarkable. I was very moved. I wished it was there in my time, and but it's interesting that these countries have a mandate that you cannot build without it. My Bombay airport that you spoke about was tom-tomming this order. And the big exhibition, Golden Eye, that I did in 1985, inviting all the architects around the world, like Fray Otto, Ettore Sottsass, Mario Bellini, all of them are dead, Charles Moore, and Radowski, and Hans Olain, they all came and worked here in the villages, was again to reintroduce how contemporary, how crafts can become usable in contemporary Egypt. The Golden Eye exhibition was never seen in India. It was brought back, stored into a storehouse where everything caught fire and it disappeared. So we are trying to see if we can do it again. So craft is not ornamental. It's intelligence embedded in materials and structure. Real innovation does not discard the past, it translates it. So ask yourself, does what I make create dignity? Does it create work? Does it create continuity? Because development that is jobless, voiceless, rootless becomes futureless. If you know about factor 4, how many have you inquired about factor 4? Can we have a raise of hands? Factor 4. Then I won't even talk about factor 10, but please Google it today, factor 4, and see how you determine costs of materials and what carbon footprints are all about. It's what's determining built form around the world. All of this identity, rasa, ethics, ultimately passes through one extraordinary instrument, the hand. Please look at your hand. Raise them. Let me see if you're hearing me. Raise your hand, right? Now look at it. Look at it carefully. At the tip of each finger, monkeys can't do this. They have long palms because they have to swing on branches. We evolved, we can do this. So at the tip of each finger are millions of neurons directly connected to the brain. We did not think first and then make. We made, and coherence followed. The equilibrium between the eye, the mind, and the spirit is managed by the tips of this instrument. And today, that equilibrium is breaking. Speed is mistaken for intelligence. The tactile is disappearing. Few play in the rain. Few shape clay in the palm. Few doodle without purpose. Each of you think about what you made with your hand in your childhood or otherwise, and come and tell me about it later. This is the real crisis, the de-skilling of the human being. So I ask you, acquire at least one hand skill, something no one can snatch away. Stay in touch with your mind, your hand, because when the hand is alive, the human remains human. So drawing it, making, even on handwriting, manufacturing, separate machines, separate seeing, thinking, and making. The handmade unites them. One day of skill is worth a few of unskilled many. दस्तकार ए दरिया काबिलों की उम्र बढ़ जाती है. खुद कर लो हिसाब. हुनरमंद का एक दिन बाहुनर का एक साल. Today, the question returns with urgency. What is handmade? Will it survive? How is it urgent for India? We, in fact, handmade, it's the most skilled country in the world. Could be an exclusive Indian brand. It's not just a thing or a product. It is a philosophy and a way of being and seeing. It is touch of human intuition, the quiet dialogue between skill and soul, something no machine can ever replicate. And especially fakes that are now masquerading as handmade in every emporia, government or otherwise. Rich with its unique language of Hasta Mudras. When I talk about fakes, learn to recognize. That's your business as consumers of tomorrow. Rich with its unique, the Hasta Mudras in dance, plain speak, or prayers. Our subcontinent continues to be the most hand-centric region in the world, as I said. Although capacity de-skilling, most villages are still capable of making something with their hands that they want. But no one has made any commitment to the sector very seriously, as my friend Ashok has battled all his life. And because of him, much that has happened has happened. But still a lot more, as he knows, needs to be done. Skill alone is not enough. It must be guided by responsibility. So education, compassion, and social responsibility. Have you ever wondered who really paid for your studies? 25 naya paisa being spent on your education is coming from the pocket of a man whose child will not see the inside of a school. So remember the gifting process. Compassion must rule. We need to re-examine the context. We need education to meet the needs of our country. So compassion again will teach us how to reach out. How will you apply what you have learned here to benefit our society as a whole? Education, therefore, is not a private victory for you or your family. It is a public trust. And I do accept what I was told about this institution being run without government, but it's a public trust. And as I explained, for every rupee spent, 25 naya paisa will come directly, indirectly from the pockets of a man who may not be able to even see the institution. So compassion is not charity, it's a context. Ask yourself again and again, who does my education serve? Carry your learning lightly, but use it generously. Because a true measure of education is not how far you go, but how many you carry with you. All this in terms of machines and what I'm speaking. Netherlands, I was told last month, had first to begin with handwriting because it was going, and life skills they were found to be disappearing. Last month they banned all mobile and telephones in schools and limited screen time. They were alarmed with the generation of dependencies on the instrument. We think that technology is making us independent. True. And we are really focusing or losing is the real value of interdependence. So collaboration, transdisciplinarity, and collective intelligence. Life does not arrive in disciplines, it arrives whole. Architecture, dance, music, poetry, all connect. The Jains called it Jivadaya, interdependence of life. Everything connects, said my mentor Charles Eames. Vishnu Dharmotra Puran, on exchange in one of the Purans, he says, to be a painter, one must know sculpture. To be an architect, one must know dance. All of you dance? I've seen the Garba. All dance is okay. Dance is possible only through music, and poetry therefore is essential. All 6 senses come together. Now, another one that I don't know enough people would speak to you is evoking the feminine energy. Let me now speak about a form of power we often misunderstand and therefore often suppress. The feminine energy in our tradition, the word prakriti, is revealing. Pra means excellent, kriti means creation. Prakriti is also the first cause, the primeval principle, fluid, adaptive, continuous, without beginnings, without an end. And without it, nothing manifests. To evolve feminine energy is not to speak only of gender. It's not a slogan. It's not a posture. Balancing the woman within is more than being a feminist. It is empowerment at the most subtle. It is becoming secure with the feminine in each of us It's called The Hidden River. That's a play I did in 1984 at the NCPA called The Hidden River, about the same issue of perceiving the river flowing quietly beneath the hard rock of gender stereotypes. And great gurus from Kelucharan Mahapatra, Amanrao Chakyar, along with 300 folk artists, were part of a narrative that we had done as improvisations. So the feminine is intuitive. I'm afraid that protocol doesn't allow photographs, but I'm sure people call me again with hundreds of pictures, because everything I do as an artist is about things that I make. And at the moment that's not possible, but I will be very happy to come back here and show more and more. So the feminine is intuitive, it's austere, it improvises, it values common sense and over control. It knows when to hold, what to adapt, when to let go. So I ask, who will help artists and designers activate the right side of this brain again? Who will help us reclaim intuition in a world obsessed with metrics? Because creativity does not emerge only from dominance and assertion. It also emerges from listening, from restraint, tentativity, from care. Our mothers understood this instinctively, like Bapu, Mahatma Gandhi. They were great designers, conserving, reusing, optimizing limited resources. They practiced sustainability long before it became a discipline. They designed as if there was no tomorrow, and perhaps there is the mindset we need again. So let us also not look down upon Jugaad, India's low-cost innovations, doing more with less, making intelligently within constraints. This is not compromise, this is wisdom. So I go on with empathy, with patience and with humility. And in times as fragile as ours, this way of thinking is not just desirable but essential. So I add on to this a spiritual resonance. And before I'm taken up by the dialogue on atheism and religion, let me end this thought by turning inward. To do any of this, to make, to create, to care, the future guardians of our collective soul must remain connected to a deeper sense of being. Creative action needs meaning, and meaning does not always come from logic alone. In the realm of the spirit, 2 plus 2 is never 4. There is shunya, the sukshma, emptiness that is full, or the Sufis call fana, zikra, the dissolving of the self into something larger. When we force creativity to exist without spiritual dimension, without whether religious or otherwise, we devalue inspiration itself. And when inspiration is diminished, both our material and emotional worlds suffer. Across history, the most enduring works in architecture, music, literature, dance, art have emerged from this invisible presence, sukshma, this quiet dialogue with the intangible. And that equation has not changed. I'm trying to explore sound and music at the moment, a big project in Bangalore, and I realize how little one knows at the end of one's life. So whatever path you choose, leave space for silence, for wonder, for something beyond measurement, because it is often there that the deepest creativity begins. John Cage used to tell me, and that's very currently, you know him very well, he worked with us in India, said that if you ignore sound, it becomes noise. So learn to listen to even the silence. And finally, remember, none of this is done alone. Sangat, as one recommends, timing and slow creation and a sense of occasion. I must also speak about teamwork. Bina bhedi, bahar mat bhatko. Sangat is critical. Vastu theek paije, jab bhedi lijo saath. Choose your companions wisely. Surround yourself with those who challenge you, who argue well, who listen deeply. Collective intelligence is not about consensus. It is about resonance. Your greatest strength will not be what you know alone, but what you are able to build together. Teamworks are important there. So finally, being fearless. Let me now speak about courage. Not the loud kind, not bravado, but the quiet courage to live with difference. Becoming who we are must make room for many imagined identities. To be Indian is not to be uniform. It is to be plural. And then plurality demands that we become less insecure. So the so-called other, for over 3 decades, I have tried to engage my own lens towards what I call South Asia. Satian journey. Satian is South Asia, and that synergy is another subject. Because much of who I am, indeed who we are, lives in the same house with different rooms called Karachi, Dhaka, Kabul, Kathmandu, Thimphu, Rangoon, Colombo, our immediate neighborhood, which I can't change. We share histories, wounds, languages, dreams through exhibitions, festivals, and cross-border collaborations. I've seen how culture does what politics often cannot. What negotiations fail, dialogue through art begins. So far, and I say so far, our region has survived because we know how to argue, to listen, to keep talking. If we lose that skill, our subcontinent would erupt, making conflicts elsewhere look like children's quarrels. Remember this, with nearly 40% of the world's poor, we are also one of the most militarized regions on earth. And fear keeps it that way. This is why color, art, creativity, culture is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Creativity makes us fearless of the so-called other. It teaches not tolerance, respect for plurality, all that, and the courage to imagine peace. What culture can do, politics often only speaks about. Diplomats negotiate, artists act. So wherever you go, carry this fearlessness with you, because the future will be shaped by it, and not by the loudest. And it'll be a shared tomorrow. I actually close here, but it's a little my end part. But just to tell you, this is a slogan I've used now for 30 years, and I need your hands because I need to bring back something. Now, open it. Just open it like this. Come on. Don't be shy. Okay? So, diversity. Say diversity. Connectivity. Empowerment. Preservation. Peace. You can also say positioning, because you're all architects, you've got to position it. Right. So, for years to come, in this age of self-gratification and giving back less and less, may I suggest an altered paradigm of growth with the concept of aham. The main character, energy, aham, translates to I or self in Sanskrit. It's about recognizing and embracing who you are. Main character of self-review through selfless service. This measure will capture the spirit of investing our karma with a purpose and confidence, stepping fully into your own story. Let me end with a metaphor I hold dear. Kasturi kundali base, mriga dhoonde ban mahi. We are like a musk deer, seeking that perfume everywhere in the forest while it lays within, searching frantically for a fragrance that's already within us. We sit thirsty beside the river, hungry beneath a fruit-laden tree, clenching seeds, afraid to let them fall. But no seed is shy of germination. No fruit clings to the tree when ripe, and when it falls, it doesn't rot if the ground is fertile. So, my dear friends, I wish you courage, compassion. I wish you life of making that leaves the world more human than you find it. My congratulations. Welcome to the world of work.
May I request Professor Sameep Padora to present Shri Rajeev Sethi ji with the book Ahmedabad Cross-Section and CEPT Drawings. Thank you, Shri Rajeev Sethi, for your thoughtful and inspiring address. Your reflections on the true meaning of creativity and your emphasis on embracing uncertainty offered our graduates a perspective shaped by deep experience and care. At a time when we are stepping into a fast-changing world, your words remind us of the enduring values of shared responsibility and commitment to people, places, and crafts. Thank you, sir, once again. Moving on to the university level proficiency, faculty level proficiency awards, I would like to welcome Professor Meghal Arya to announce the names of the students, and I would request Shri Rajeev Sethi to present the awards.
It's an extreme pleasure to be able to bring on stage students who have committed and dedicated their time and effort at the university and at the Faculty of Architecture. I'd like to start with the Masters, the postgraduate programs. The Masters in Architectural History and Research, Best Foundation Studio, Bhavya Jain. Best Studio 3, Mahi Devta. The Masters in Architectural Tectonics, Best Foundation Studio, Jariwala Zubair. Best Studio 3, Akshay Vishwakarma and Pari R. Best Studio 2, Pratham. Best Studio Project, Kangankar Kunal Rajesh. Masters in Conservation and Regeneration, Best Studio 3, Nishar Praji Janak Raksha. Big round of applause for our students who've made extra effort. Please continue your applause. And coming up, Best Studio 2, Anjal Patel. And Best Research Project, Gayatri S. Masters in Housing Design, Manali. I think the idea is to be able to show your face to the audience also. Best Studio 3, Samyak Rajiv Malu and Srinidhi V. Srinidhi V also has the Best Studio 2. Congratulations to you. And Best Studio 2, Devesh Bapat. Best Studio Project, I'm going to take some time to pronounce this one, right? Sharavan, well, did I get it right? Rajeev ji just now showed this. Rajeev ji just now did that for diversity, and this list is an incredible recognition of the diversity of students we have in the university. Jayesh Chetan Raj Bhosle for Masters in Landscape Architecture, Best Studio 3. Also Best Studio 2. Does he ever get out of the studio or he remains in the studio all the time? Best Studio Project, Neha Niranjan. Masters in Interior Design, Best Studio 3, Akshita Agarwal. Best Studio 2, Varsha Ann John.